Hey guys, welcome to another look at the easiest bosses of SoulsBorne, and this time it's Dark Souls 2 we're discussing. Dark Souls 2 definitely has its fair share of mediocre bosses, some rather forgettable and laughable even, and others still designed well and fun to fight. This list is going to look at both categories. I have to also mention the sheer number of bosses in Dark Souls 2. It's actually insane. It's like 42 bosses or something crazy like that. Way more than any other title. So, lots of material. Okay, so to get the ball rolling, we've got a giant frog. It is of course Demon of Song. And yeah, it's a giant frog with some kind of exoskeleton bodysuit. It is every bit as odd as it sounds. A fairly simple boss to avoid once you get past the grotesque appearance. I do quite like Demon of Song, however, for its larger than life design. You can't deny that there hasn't really been a boss quite like it. It's completely unique. So as you fight it, it becomes quite apparent soon enough that you can't do damage past its tough skin, so you need to wait it out and attack only when its face is exposed. Its most lethal attack is probably the dash that may just catch you unawares or nip your foot at the end of a roll animation, but other than that, the boss is just not threatening. I do admire it for being what it is though, a giant freaky frog. You also have to mention it being at the end of Shrine of Amana, an area that easily tops one of the hardest, most frustrating areas of Dark Souls 2. At least the boss isn't going to trip you up once you're finished with it. At number 4 we've got the Last Giant, the first boss of the game. Or at least what should be the first boss of the game if you've gone to Forest of the Fallen Giants, which you should. Anyway, the Last Giant is at number 4 because despite the intimidating size, if you've got decent spatial awareness, you're going to be fine. Take 1 or 2 jabs at an ankle, don't get greedy, watch out for his stomps, go to the other ankle and repeat step 1. That's pretty much the fight sorted. Yes, there is a slight difference towards the end as it will rip off its arm's amygdala from Bloodborne style to flail at you, but just keep to its back and keep swinging away until it's dead. You might get unlucky if he swipes at you and you can't quite manage to recover, but if you do get hit, just gain some distance, heal, and get straight back into it. He's slow enough that you've always got the advantage. Not a bad first boss, but not the best there's been. In at number 3 is Royal Rat Vanguard. Surely this boss takes the crown for one of the most boring and uninspired. It's a lot like what I've already said about Celestial Emissary. It follows the same pattern of the real boss being lost in the crowd, and you have to whittle your way through the little mobs to get to them. Except, with the rats, there's just nothing special about it. I felt like, at least with Emissary, you were treated to interesting and bright visuals. With this, it's just bleak, dark and murky grey. There's nothing interesting about it. You've already fought your fair share of rats, you know how they work, you know the jumpy AI they have, so they just dumped a bunch of them in a room and called it a boss. I know I said that easy bosses don't always mean bad bosses, but Royal Rat Vanguard is just exceptionally boring. There's not really more to say about them. In at number 2 is the Mages and Congregation. Yes, the Congregation is at number 2, as you were probably expecting it to be. But maybe you were expecting it to be number 1. But for me there's a bigger and much more obvious choice for number 1, but that's for later discussion. I'm going to place Congregation here because they're multi-target, so at least it feels like there's more to watch out for. With a little bit of brute force, you can down this boss extremely quickly. They don't exactly do much except stand in the same spot, all bunched together. Maybe this fight could have been a little more threatening if they didn't have such a little amount of health. The point is, at this stage of the game, you're bound to have a fair, decent, upgraded weapon, so you just shred through them like a hot knife through butter. On a first playthrough, perhaps you'd be intimidated by just how many there are, but once you realise that they all contribute to the boss's health bar, then it just sort of falls into being a silly joke. I feel like there's a chance they weren't meant to be a boss. If you think about where they are placed, it just sort of acts as a buffer between two places. It doesn't feel like an end to a level. Maybe at the last minute they might have thought, we've not put a boss in for a while and it might take the player a fair amount of time till they get to the Duke's Dear Frasier, so let's just make these regular enemies a boss. Who knows? Who knows? So in at number 1 is Covidous Demon. Yeah, for me there's not much of a contest to this. Covidous Demon, a poor man's Jabba the Hutt, is the easiest boss in Dark Souls 2. It's just a big lump, and that's it. It will roll occasionally, but it's fairly easily telegraphed, so just use your eyes. It swipes at you, but more often than not, if you're near its tail, it won't even reach you. So just go around in a circular motion, stay away from its mouth, and take your jabs. It doesn't have much health either, so it can be tempting to get a bit greedy. Only, in this fight, being greedy doesn't really result in a huge punishment, as it does in other fights. Just end Covidous Demon and show this boss who is boss. But that's it. There really isn't anything more to say. Design-wise, as I said, it's just Jabba the Hutt. It looks horrendous, and it moves exactly the way you would expect it to. The one trick it does have is that it can bite you and unequip your weapons, and that does pretty much make the fight impossible, but it's never happened to me. So apart from that one damaging attack, it doesn't do anything else. It doesn't morph into anything in a secret phase 2, it just is. It just exists. Exists for you to kill it and be on your merry way through the rest of Harvest Valley. So that's us at the end of another enthralling video where I chat about bosses from the Souls series. Hope you enjoyed this one. There is a lot of choice in Dark Souls 2. A lot of the bosses are very straightforward, but still good. I still like Dark Souls 2. I didn't really like this game at first, but I will admit it's grown on me in its own unique, special way. But yes, that does indeed bring us to a close. Next up will be Demon Souls, so please stay tuned for that. Bye for now.